But yeah, like I said, I have 30 minutes, so I'm going to be moving pretty quick here. But feel free to interrupt. Feel free to have some questions as we go along. I'm happy to have a conversation as we go. So we're going to start off by talking about adaptogens, just a quick intro into what they are. I'm going to talk about some of the most common adaptogens. And there's kind of three classes of adaptogens. There's formally known adaptogens. So these have been really well-researched adaptogens. There's probable adaptogens, which means they have those great adaptogenic profiles in our bodies, but maybe they just haven't been as well-researched. And then there's possible adaptogens. So there's even just less research on them on human trials more specifically. So I'm just talking about those scientific research. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk about the practical use of adaptogens. So how do we actually use them in our day-to-day? And then we are going to end off with a little elixir tasting, and I'm going to tell you about the adaptogens that I use in my line, as well as the functional mushrooms that I use in my line, because not all mushrooms are adaptogens, and vice versa. And I always like to start off a lot of my workshops with this quote. My idea of a good herbalist isn't someone who knows the use of 40 different plants, but maybe knows how to use one plant in 40 different ways, right? Because it can get a little overwhelming and a little, I don't know, just convoluted when you start to think of all of the different plants that are out there, all of the different mushrooms and how our bodies can use them. But if in this workshop you maybe gravitate towards one or two, I think that's a really great start, because there are so many different profiles for a lot of these mushrooms and these adaptogens. So yeah, just maybe write down a couple that are calling to you and learn a little bit more about them on your own time. Or ask some questions. You know, the Light Cellar is such a great resource for learning about different mushrooms and plants. And this is the cultural hub for that type of person that wants to learn more about that. So you're in the right spot. Okay, so what are adaptogens? It's a little bit of a buzzword right now in the wellness industry, and for good reason. Adaptogens are different herbs, roots, and mushrooms that help our bodies adapt to stress. They support our energy levels, and they promote overall balance within our bodies. They work by regulating the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal. They reduce our cortisol levels, which is that stress hormone. And they help our bodies to respond to physical, emotional, and environmental stressors. So quick synopsis on what adaptogens are. And what is the criteria for a plant to be considered an adaptogen? It has to fall within this criteria of three different things. So it has to be non-toxic at normal doses. So it has to be safe for the majority of people to take on a regular basis when taken at that normal non-toxic dose. It should support the body's entire ability to cope with stress. And it should help our bodies return to a state of homeostasis and balance. Okay. So what are some of the adaptogens? So my personal favorite adaptogen, I take it a few times every week because I don't want to take the same adaptogen every single day, but ashwagandha. I'm going to be talking a lot about ashwagandha today. Like I said, this is just going to be a quick little snapshot of some of the most common adaptogens, and I will go into detail a little bit further in the presentation. We want to give our bodies the opportunity to kind of self-regulate. Yeah, so it's a good idea to cycle between a couple different adaptogens. So for example, if you're taking ashwagandha, maybe you take it a few times a week, or you take it every day for 2 weeks and then stop. See how our bodies kind of adapt to that, and then maybe work in a new adaptogen before you go back to that original cycle. Yeah. So ashwagandha, it helps our bodies reduce stress, anxiety, it supports sleep, and it also boosts energy. So it kind of has that normalizing effect within our bodies. So it's both going to calm you and relax you, but if maybe an energy boost is more of what you need, it's going to support you in that way as well. Yeah.
I've heard some things about ashwagandha. Does it increase serotonin in the body?
Increase serotonin. Yeah, it can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it true then that if you take ashwagandha for a longer extended or you take higher doses, then it could lead to numbness,
Possibly.
like emotional numbness?
That's possible. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I said kind of taking the same adaptogen for a long time isn't always a great idea. Yeah, we want to slow it down a little bit and maybe take it in more of a cycle rather than taking the same therapeutic dose every single day. Yeah.
And then because ashwagandha increases serotonin, could you perhaps use it as a replacement for SSRIs?
I can't give you that advice, but possibly.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So ashwagandha, like I said, I'll dive into that one quite a bit more because it is one of the most common adaptogens. Yeah. Rhodiola, another really great adaptogen. So this one is great for enhancing focus, it combats fatigue, and it increases our stamina. So it is one of those more energizing adaptogens. Also, rhodiola has profiles that it can be a bit drying. So if you have more of that yin deficiency, if you have more dry mouth, dry skin, rhodiola might not be the best adaptogen for you. Holy basil, also known as tulsi. This is another one of my favorites. I take this in a tea. I give it to my children very often as well because it has these beautiful, calming, relaxing effects, but it's also really great for supporting the immune system. So during cold and flu season, I'm a big fan of tulsi. Yes.
So, holy basil is good. You just described,
Mm-hmm.
but have to be careful. People who suffers or have a tendency to have a low blood pressure.
Low blood pressure. Okay. Okay. That's really good to know. Yeah, so it's not going to be a great adaptogen for people that have, yeah, for sure. And you know what? With almost all plant profiles, you want to look into them before you start taking them, specifically in therapeutic doses, right? Because like I said, with rhodiola, great, it's energizing. You know, it has all of these, great vitality enhancing benefits to it. But also, like I said, if you have more of that yin deficiency, if you're more of a dry person, it's really going to exacerbate those qualities within you. So yeah, definitely look into that a little bit more. But that's good to know. Holy basil, if you have low blood pressure, it's not a good fit for you. Yeah, for sure. Great. So holy basil and tulsi is really great for supporting immunity, reduces mental fog, and it fights inflammation in the body. Another great energizing adaptogen is maca root. So this is also really great for hormone balance. So I like to give this to my clients if they are in that preconception phase, if they're trying to start getting pregnant, if they're thinking about their fertility, really, really great adaptogen to use there, both for men and women. It boosts libido, balances your hormones, and enhances endurance. Reishi mushroom. Reishi mushroom is not a confirmed adaptogen. It is one of those possible adaptogens because it just doesn't have as many human studies. But it has a lot of those beautiful adaptogenic profiles. So reishi mushroom is really great for supporting immunity, promotes relaxation, and reduces inflammation in the body. And I'm going to talk a lot about reishi mushroom. Lion's mane. So lion's mane is another probable adaptogen. This one I take on days like today when I know I'm going to have to be thinking on my feet a little bit more. You know, I'm going to be, talking to a group of people. When I want more of that mental focus, this is the adaptogen that I gravitate towards, lion's mane mushroom. So I actually had a big scoop of it in my coffee this morning. If you're studying for a test, if you have a big presentation coming up at work, if you just need a little bit more of that brain support, yeah, definitely gravitate towards lion's mane mushroom. So like I said, it improves cognitive function, supports nerve health as well. And the last few adaptogens that I'm going to talk about briefly here, the next is cordyceps. So this one is great for athletes. Yeah, this one was actually, I remember it was like the Chinese Olympic team was taking cordyceps and they accused them all of doping because their, physical performance was just like so enhanced. they found out that they were just taking cordyceps. You know, it wasn't any kind of doping, it wasn't anything illegal, they were just taking that cordyceps. So really great for athletes. Like I said, it improves athletic performance and increases our oxygen use as well. Schizandra, this is one that is a very common adaptogen, really, really supportive. I know that the Light Cellar has a number of different teas and tinctures that you can use Schizandra for, so big fan of this one as well. It protects the liver, it improves endurance and reduces fatigue. Really great for immune system support as well. So during cold and flu season, highly recommend having some Schizandra in your pantry, in your own apothecary. Ginseng, there's a few different strains of it, but I'm going to talk more generally here. So ginseng, really great for enhancing physical performance and reducing stress. So quick synopsis there on some of the common adaptogens. So how do we actually use them? You know, we see these pictures of roots or we see these pictures of berries and you're like, okay, what do I do with this? A tincture is a really great way to take adaptogens. So I know that the Light Cellar has so many different tinctures. They make a lot of them in-house. So tinctures, as most of us probably know, are made from an alcohol extract. Sometimes if you don't want alcohol, they can also be a glycerin base, which is non-alcoholic. So yeah, tincture is a really great way to take adaptogens. Also a tea, so actually taking the plant matter. Hello friends, come on in. Yeah, so just taking it into a tea. If it's a root, you probably want to boil it a little bit longer. That's called a decoction, to actually break down more of that plant material. It can be in a capsule, it can be in a powder, or it can be in an elixir as well, which is how I use mine. So when it is in a powder, you're typically not just grinding up, you know, the plant itself. You want to actually extract it. So that's done with a steam extraction or an alcohol extraction. And then it's ground into a powder from there just to really draw out a lot of those medicinal properties. And like I said, the Light Cellar has all of those products available for sale. Okay, so adaptogens, there's a lot to learn. And like I said, I only have 30 minutes today. I would love to stand up here for hours and to talk in detail about all of the different adaptogens and all of their profiles, but we don't have time for that today. So I created a brand. It's called Ritual Wellness Collective. And I just wanted to simplify the use of adaptogens. Because for me, you know, I have this fabulous elixir cabinet at home where I have all of my adaptogens, all of my tinctures. It cost me thousands of dollars to bring it all together and a lot of years of learning of how to actually use it. People don't have time for that. It becomes overwhelming. So when I started my brand, I just really wanted to simplify it. You know, I wanted to put a couple of adaptogens together, ones that I know work really well, ones that have the profile that I wanted to use every single day. So those calming, relaxing properties. But I didn't want all of the fuss that came with it, with adaptogens. So that's how Ritual Wellness came together. Yeah, and how I started it was in my kitchen. Like I said, I had this beautiful elixir cabinet with all of my powders, all of my tinctures, all of my mushrooms, my cacao, my coconut butter, you know, all of my things. And I found myself, you know, gravitating towards certain products. So I loved my cacao. And my son, he's 3 years old. He's my biggest fan of my elixirs. He asks for one every single day. So, you know, that chocolatey, that antioxidant profile, I knew that it was a nourishing drink that I was giving to my son every single day. I would add in a little bit of coconut milk for some creaminess. I would add in some reishi mushroom for its calming properties right before bed, some cinnamon for blood sugar stabilization, and then maybe a big dollop of honey as well. Yeah, so as I would bring these elixirs together, a light bulb kind of came off in my head and I was like, you know what, I think there's an opportunity here. And that's how my brand came together. So can I have a volunteer, please? I would love to do a little elixir tasting with everyone. So I'm going to tell you about the 3 different products that I have, the adaptogens that are in them, and how they work within our body systems. So we have a matcha that we're gonna try. And just to note, this is dairy-free. It is sweetened with honey. It does have mushrooms in it. So if anyone has any other allergens, please let me know. It is gluten-free as well. But yeah, no dairy in there, but it's not vegan because they are all sweetened with honey. This also has collagen in it. So again, it's not a vegan product.
And that's the green package.
That's the green package. Yeah, so that's the matcha. Yeah, okay, Donna, if you want to start pouring some more here as well.
You have all three?
I have all three, yeah.
And are we gonna serve everybody like all the matcha and then serve everybody all the other?
So yeah, you know what, while you're serving the, do you have another one of these trays?
So what I was thinking I could do.
Yep.
Is, once they get the first one.
Yep.
I can just take the carafe around.
Oh, perfect.
and
Yep.
Keep the cup. and
Yep,
can
that's a
just-
great idea, for sure. If this were a wine tasting, that would never be allowed, but I'll allow it. That's why I always start with the matcha as well. It's kind of the lightest flavor profile. How many people do we have? 35? Okay, I'm gonna let you keep going here while I start talking about the matcha. So the Glow Up matcha. I created this to be like your elevated skincare in a month. That was my whole concept behind it. And it was actually inspired by one of the elixirs that I had here in the summertime. Hannah Beth had created this delicious elixir that had like Saskatoon berries in it. It had pearl powder, tremella mushroom. And I was like, okay, I think there's an opportunity here for me to make this into my own take on the matcha. So the Glow Up matcha, yeah, like I said, the glow up, it's for your skin. It's for that glowy, kind of dewy effect. Matcha is a really great source of antioxidants. So it helps to fight that free radical damage that happens naturally within our bodies, being exposed to all of these environmental stressors that we have. So matcha is a really great way to reduce that free radical damage. And it has ashwagandha in it. So ashwagandha, and I'm going to talk about ashwagandha in two different ways today. So this is specifically for the skincare benefits. And then when I talk about ashwagandha on the other two elixirs, you'll notice that it's going to have a different profile because these herbs can adapt and they have different profiles based on what you're trying to achieve. So ashwagandha reduces stress-induced breakouts by reducing our cortisol levels, that stress hormone. It supports collagen production by keeping the skin plump and resilient. It helps to fight inflammation, so soothing conditions like eczema and acne. It protects against oxidative stress, which can lead to premature aging. And then it aids in that hormonal balance as well, which plays a key role in skin clarity. Maybe our friends in the front here can stand up and grab your own matcha, and then we're going to start. Oh, there you go. Bring your own mug. I love it. There you go. I have one as well. So the Glow Up matcha, definitely my best-selling product. My personal favorite as well. I know it's not fair to choose your favorite child, but this is. So like I said, I made this one with coconut milk. So equal parts water and a touch of coconut milk there as well. I sweeten it with honey. I tried to keep the profile pretty mellow today. Sometimes I make my matcha a lot more punchy, but yeah, I wanted this to be just a bit more approachable for everyone today. So that's the Glow Up matcha. So it also contains pearl powder. Pearl powder is incredibly difficult to source. I learned this when I was creating this brand. And thankfully now the Light Cellar makes their own in-house, but for a long time it was my most difficult product to source, but I knew that I needed to keep it in the elixir. So pearl powder is really great for boosting collagen production, which gives you that firm and youthful skin. It's rich in calcium and amino acids, which are essential for skin repair and renewal. It helps to reduce hyperpigmentation, dark spots, and uneven tone in our skin. It naturally brightens your skin. So it gives you a luminous, dewy glow. And then it contains those great antioxidants that protect against the environmental stressors. And tremella mushroom. Okay, so this is not an adaptogen, but it is one of those functional mushrooms. So what tremella mushroom is really known for is being like a plant version of a hyaluronic acid. So it actually brings hydration to the surface of the skin. We can start pouring the cacao as well. Yeah. So it enhances skin plumpness by retaining moisture and improving elasticity. It's rich in polysaccharides that protect against oxidative damage. It boosts skin regeneration and repair, reducing the look of fine lines and wrinkles. And it helps to maintain a radiant, dewy complexion by locking in hydration. Okay, what else is in the matcha? We have some coconut milk, like I said, and then it also has bovine collagen in it. So collagen, of course, we know is really great for our hair, nails, and skin. So I make sure to have a really good quality bovine collagen in there as well. Okay. Yeah. So it is caffeinated as well. So this could be a coffee alternative. Matcha, what's really great about matcha is while it is caffeinated, it gives you a steady source of energy. Whereas coffee tends to give you like that quick spike and crash. Matcha is going to give you that kind of consistent, steady energy throughout the day. This small amount shouldn't keep you up at all tonight, I would hope, unless you're very sensitive to caffeine. Sorry, I should have started with that. Yeah. It's not ceremonial grade. No, it is a superior grade. If it were ceremonial, this would cost $300. Yeah. Yeah. Ceremonial grade is hands down the best matcha that you can get. This is just one step below it at the superior grade. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So 1 teaspoon in a cup of water. How I like to make it, excuse me? Yeah, yeah. For it to dilute, you really do want to put it into some warm water. Some people make it iced, but I think for it to properly dilute and to break down that plant material, because what's cool about matcha is that you're actually drinking the entire tea leaf, right? It's ground into a really fine powder so that it dissolves into the water. So you're drinking the entire tea leaf rather than just filtering it out afterwards. Yeah. Some people just do not like matcha, and that is totally okay. So which one do we have now? The cacao? Cacao? Perfect. Okay, so the mellow mood cacao. So this has 2 other of my favorite mushrooms in there, root and mushroom ashwagandha. So these 2 actually have the same adaptogens in them. So I'm going to talk about these 2 as one and the same because they do have the same adaptogens in them. Of course, they're very different drinks, as you'll taste, but they have the same mushrooms. So the mellow mood cacao has ashwagandha. So let's talk a little bit more about its calming properties here. So it's really great for reducing stress and anxiety, lowering cortisol levels, and helping with adrenal fatigue and overall relaxation. So these 2 are going to be really great bedtime drinks. Yeah. It can boost your energy and endurance, supporting stamina without being overstimulating, making it great for sustained energy. It helps to balance our hormones, helping to regulate our thyroid function and reproductive hormones. It's beneficial for both men and women. It helps to improve the quality of our sleep. So it calms the nervous system and supports that really deep level of rest. It enhances our brain function, supporting focus, memory, and cognitive performance. So how I like to make the cacao, if I'm having it as a bedtime treat or serving it to my children, I really want them to get more of that therapeutic benefit from it. So I'm going to enhance it with a little bit of black pepper. So adding some black pepper into any of your ashwagandha is going to help it with its bioavailability. So I add just a tiny little sprinkle of black pepper into the cacao. It's already in the turmeric, so you don't need to worry about adding it there. And then sometimes I'll add like a scoop of coconut butter, a scoop of gelatin, a scoop of collagen. I'll even add an egg yolk into it as well, just to give it a little bit more creaminess because I want my children to sleep all night long. So I want to really just give them, as much nutrients as I can right before bed. And then for myself as well, right? So yeah, that's the mellow mood cacao. And then the reishi mushroom. So reishi, like I said, it's a probable adaptogen, but it has so many of these beautiful adaptogenic profiles to it that in my mind and in most people's minds, it is an adaptogen. So it helps to reduce stress and promote relaxation. It helps calm the nervous system and balance cortisol levels. It supports immune function. And then this is the last one. That is the mellow mood cacao. No, golden moon milk. Yeah. So it contains these beta glucans and polysaccharides that help our immune systems defend against attackers. It improves the quality of our sleep. It naturally supports sleep, restorative sleep without being sedative. It balances our mood, so it can help reduce anxiety, depression, and emotional imbalances. It's anti-inflammatory, antioxidant rich, and it helps to combat oxidative stress and support long-term health. And reishi mushroom also is really great for our liver. So it aids in cleansing the body and protecting liver function. So the golden moon milk is a turmeric latte. Turmeric is also really, really great for an antioxidant, for reducing that oxidative stress in our bodies. Turmeric is a superfood. It also stains everything, so be very careful with spilling it on yourself. Hi. Okay. No. Yeah. No, I wouldn't worry about it unless you're kind of holding it in your mouth for a long time. Yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned about it, but maybe after you're having your turmeric drink, just do a quick swish of some water. Yeah, but I don't think it should stain your teeth. Yeah, your clothes, yes. Yeah. Yeah, your countertops, yes. But as far as staining your teeth, I don't think so. As long as it's not, sitting on there for a long time. Yeah, like I said, this has turmeric, it has ginger. It's a little bit spicy, you'll notice. Yeah, I did make it quite mild, this blend. What else does it have in here? And then it has that coconut milk. All of my products have coconut milk in it, just to give you that little bit of creaminess. And then it has the pepper in there as well, because you need to add pepper to turmeric and ashwagandha for it to increase that bioavailability in our bodies. Okay, so these are all of the different adaptogens and products that are available at the Light Cellar. So you can get all of these adaptogens that I talked about. You can get them in a tincture, and that's just simply made with alcohol, and it extracts that medicinal property from the plant. You can get it ground into a powder. So they have ashwagandha powder, they have reishi mushroom powder, and you can add that into your own elixirs at home. And that's all I have for today. Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, I really like, it's at Costco. It is called, someone help me out here. It comes in a case of 10. Did you say it?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it is at cost.
Yeah, I think it's, oh gosh, it's gonna drive me nuts now.
Is it in a carton or a can?
It's in a can. Yeah, it's in a can, so it's in a case of about 10. CHE. Yeah, CHE Organics or CHI. I'm pretty sure that's it. Does that sound right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Most of the good coconut milk is from the Philippines. Yeah. Yeah. Chaz. There you go. Yeah. Thank you. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. So for example, if you were to look into ashwagandha and you thought that was a really good adaptogen for you to use, and maybe you would take it in a capsule for say 2 weeks, right? And you could take it every day for 2 weeks for sure and see what kind of effect it has on your body. See how you're feeling, and then stop taking it altogether and see what happens after those 2 weeks. Maybe you want to go back to it, or maybe your body is just adapting to stress and anxiety on its own. So maybe you don't need it anymore, right? Yeah. And then you could also start to work in a new adaptogen at that point, right? You could maybe switch to Tulsi or holy basil and see how your body reacts to that. Because adaptogens work very fast within our bodies. And what you're not looking for is you don't want to feel a buzz from adaptogens. You've taken too much if you're feeling a buzz. What you want to feel is regulated. You want to feel the absence of stress. You want to feel the absence of some of these properties that you were going for in the first place. Hi.
So earlier, I think you talked about how regulating androgens helps improve clarity in your skin. And I've heard that online as well through my own research. Do you know why that is?
Sorry, androgens?
Androgens, like testosterone and estrogen and progesterone.
Yeah. Sorry, say the question one more time.
Why is it that regulating androgens improves clarity in the skin?
Probably a number of different reasons. And it could be just due to those hormones, like those stress hormones, reducing stress hormones, reducing breakouts. There's a really good correlation there. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Hi.
Do you have other topical uses as well? Like I imagine myself taking a scoop and making it into paste. Face mask.
Don't do it with the turmeric. Yeah. Don't do it with the turmeric. Yeah. If you do, report back, but I don't think I would do it. Yeah. Yeah.
You had any experience with that?
I know pearl powder. Yeah, pearl powder is very commonly used as like a mask and also really great for your teeth for whitening as well. Tremella mushroom, I'm not sure if you'd get the same absorption. Yeah.
They all would have their own thing you will have to look at, but more powder,
Yeah,
like turning more powder to your face.
I haven't tried it. So I can't speak to that. Yeah. Yeah, let me think about this. Yeah, I wouldn't do the turmeric because like I said, it stains. It stains. The matcha, maybe. It has these great antioxidant profiles. It has the tremella mushroom. It has the collagen. It has, the pearl powder. Maybe it would make a great face mask. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it true that lion's mane is one of the only known substances that does neurogenesis, lets you regrow? That's true.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. The effects, and lion's mane is one of the most well-studied mushrooms as well. So that one has really cool brain effects for sure. Highly recommend looking into that one because it is neuroregenerative. So for example, if you know someone that has some of this cognitive decline, taking therapeutic, I'm not recommending this, but someone might. Taking it in therapeutic doses could be really beneficial for someone that has things like, Alzheimer's or more of that neurodegeneration. Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool.
It's currently, I think, the only thing on the planet that will regenerate a severed spinal cord.
Really?
Period.
That is so cool. That I'd never heard that. That is so cool.
Anybody that's had a stroke.
Yep. For sure, from lion's mane.
And before I knew anything about the medicinal qualities of any mushrooms.
Yep.
I used to eat it on canoe trips.
Really?
Boreal forests.
Yeah.
If you have lion's mane mushroom, with a little garlic butter and a wok, and you're blindfolded, you swear you're eating lobster. So it is a gourmet.
Really cool.
Medicinal.
Yeah.
It is yummy.
Okay. And where would you find it in the boreal forest? Really?
It was sweet. Not extreme, but
Because I've come across chaga quite a bit in the wild.
yeah.
Yeah, chaga. And then I know that reishi grows really well on Vancouver Island. I don't do a lot of foraging myself. That's something I'd love to learn more about now that I live in Bragg Creek specifically. I know that there's a ton.
It's chaga rich.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you'll find it in, I'm not sure if I'm assuming this or if I'm right, but chaga grows, the mycelium's in the ground, and it gets into the root system under the bark, and the birch tree uses it almost as a scab.
Mm-hmm,
It's the tree's friend.
mm-hmm.
So where they've been studying it and using it for cancer, for example, for years in Russia, they have these special axes where they go through the forest where they know there's mycelium.
Yeah.
And whack the trees to damage them.
And then they
to
grow
bring
chaga.
More chaga.
Cool. Yeah,
So
really cool.
and a branch
Some
broken in the
damage.
wind
Yeah,
Or a lightning strike or
Yeah.
something like that. And you'll get
Super
some big
cool.
growth.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can come at Robert Rogers and I've talked about this where I sawed it off using a little trimmer, like a pruner saw.
Yeah.
And then come back a year later, and it got another slice. So
cool.
we've kind of agreed on chaga will grow if you got big ones and you
Yep.
don't want to take right off the tree. Use a saw
Mm-hmm,
and leave it to grow there and it'll come back about the thickness of a piece of, it'll look like a piece of toast.
Yep.
And you can farm it, keep coming back.
so
if you're in a
cool.
Country that you're gonna frequent.
Yep, yeah, for
including
sure.
My brother's yard.
Yeah, I have a place in Ontario, so we see a lot of chaga growing in the wild there. So I'll take a little slice and go back the next year, see what happens.
Places I used to pick it regularly.
It's all
are
gone.
getting graded,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah. But people are getting those properties. People are getting the benefits, so that's a win, right? Yeah, and hopefully there's just enough to go around for everyone. Yeah, yeah, very cool. Hi.
So do they actually crush pearls to get pearl powder?
They
Or
do, yeah,
pearls?
yeah,
Or-
yeah. So it's the actual pearl. Yeah,
That is-
very expensive. Yeah, that's why this is my most expensive product, because the pearl powder, it's very, very expensive. Yeah, so they're taking the actual pearl from the inside of an oyster, and they're going to grind that down into a nano size so that it's actually a bioavailable form that our bodies can use. Yeah, so we actually do absorb it, and you are going to see those benefits from the pearl powder.
Does some of it come from our coasts or is it all from Asia?
Really good question. I'll have to take a look at the bottle. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at the bottle and see where that's coming from here at the light cellar.
So
Yeah.
could we take pearl necklaces and?
In theory, you could. Yeah. But it has to be nano ground. So you really have to grind it up to the point that it's a powder, a very, very, very fine powder. Yeah, otherwise it's kind of pointless because you just won't be able to absorb it.
They're probably using the pearls that have been rejected for jewelry.
From jewelry, yeah,
Like the ones that are
exactly.
perfectly round, that
Yep.
they put in jewelry, they're not gonna use that.
No,
Otherwise,
no.
that's a $600 elixir. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
I heard that ashwagandha that you need to take it for a certain period of time, like 2 or 3 weeks to actually feel the benefits.
See the benefits, yeah.
Do you feel that?
See, so many days.
Mhm. I think it's always going to be patient or person specific, right? Some people can take an adaptogen and feel its effects within an hour, right? Whereas other people, maybe if you are really depleted or maybe, your nervous system really does need a reset, it might take you 2 or 3 weeks before you start to feel those effects. Yeah, it's really going to be a case by case basis on how that's affected. Yeah.
Also with the reishi, does it lose its potency if it's sliced or is it better? Unsliced reishi or, I'm just wondering about that.
Yeah, it depends on how it's being used. Yeah, I know that the reishi that we have here at the light cellar, they have slices that you can make into a tea, but then they also have like an extracted reishi mushroom where they actually do like a steam and alcohol extraction, and then it's ground into a powder and then taken that way. So I wouldn't say that it loses its potency by any means. Yeah, if anything, I would say it's going to be more bioavailable and more potent when it does go through that extraction process. Yeah, exactly.
Reishi's very hard, it's like eating a
Piece of bark. Yeah,
piece of 2x4.
yeah.
So my understanding is they have to slice it, grind it, and do things like that to make more surface area for it to release the constituents.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Last question. Go ahead.
Yeah, really quick, what's your favorite delivery method? Cause I know like powders, tinctures, or
Mhm.
which one would you say?
Whichever one you're going to take most consistently.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's going to be person dependent. I personally don't love a tincture. I'm not called to take a tincture. To me, it doesn't taste good. It doesn't work into my everyday life. So that's why, you know, I created the elixir line, is because that was going to be the easiest and most enjoyable way for me to consume my adaptogens. So I personally prefer a powder, and then I make it into a nourishing beverage. Yeah. And it's just because that's what I'm called to.
I think it says.
Yeah.
It's really important to understand that there's a lot of chemicals in a plant. A
Mhm.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, for example, are alcohol soluble.
Yep.
And make a really good tincture. But if we look at herbs like, I'm going to take echinacea as an example. The branched polysaccharide, you've used that word today,
Mhm.
is not alcohol soluble. So echinacea tincture dissolves all of the phenols.
Mm.
So you've got one type of extract.
Yeah.
But the immune stimulating effects from the branched polysaccharide are just not there. So what you get out of a dried pill from echinacea versus a tincture are two completely different products, even though they're both echinacea.
Mhm.
So you gotta kind of keep on track of that sort of thing when you're studying herbs. And human beings are really freaking complicated. For years of practice, like what works for Betty might not work for Paul, and
Yeah, and if you like hearing from Blaine, he'll be here all day. Literally. So at 4 o'clock, Blaine will be doing a presentation. We've got Qigong coming up next with Mariah. So if you want to get your Qi flow on, learn a little bit about that as an art form, as an exercise, as a mindfulness practice. And then at 3 o'clock, if you haven't met Emil and heard his little insight into the world of fulvic acid and minerals, he'll be doing a formal presentation at 3. And then Blaine at 4. But did you enjoy hearing from Lucy? Yeah. All right. Okay, and thanks, Donna, for helping. Thank you, Alyssa. I think so.
Outside as well. So if you want to pop up on anything, I'd be happy to talk you up. If you want to chat a little bit more, we can do so. But
All right. Okay, so we got a 15-minute break. Bathrooms are there, water's there. There's more kind of samples and things out in the shop. But come on back and we'll start again at 2 o'clock.
I didn't try that one. Quick question, Malcolm.